Your partner can't stop crying. The truth about that document is worse than expected. Your partner can't stop crying. The truth about that document is worse than expected. Archangel Michael says the night feels louder when the truth finally knocks, and tonight it is pounding at your door. Your partner's tears are not just tears but a confession the mouth cannot yet shape. Somewhere between the shaking hands and the trembling breath, a document waits like a loaded silence on the table. The paper is ordinary, but the ink carries weight. It traveled across desks, through rooms where your name was spoken with intentions that did not love you. Now it lies between you and the person who promised to stand with you, and it burns like a cold star. There is a smear near the signature, a hesitation captured forever. Your partner tried to be brave before the tide broke. They kept saying it would be fine long after they knew it would not. They wanted to shield you from the storm that was already here. They wanted to buy time with silence and smiles that hurt to wear. But time is not currency, and fear is a poor blanket against winter. The document is not a rumor. It is a mechanism. It is a key carved by a stranger for a lock that has your name on it. The first page reads like legal poetry, formal and sterile. A clause here, a section there, and then the line that steals your breath. The line that says your consent exists where it never was. Your partner cannot stop crying because the paper asked them to choose a road too narrow for both of you. They stood at that road, whispering your name to a wall that would not answer. In the end, tears did what words could not, they told the truth. This is what the tears are saying in a language older than speech. Someone engineered a passage into your life using ink and boldface. Someone with patience measured in months and motives sharpened by opportunity. The paper speaks fluently in absolutes. It pretends it belongs to you by imitating your voice in a place you didn't stand. It gathers false witnesses of stamps and seals to pretend it's a wedding of signatures, not a forgery of trust. Your partner holds the edges as if they might cut themselves again on the past. They touch the date and recoil. The date is recent, dangerously recent, and your mind counts back the days you thought were safe. You remember that afternoon the calls came in pairs. Unknown numbers that stopped ringing when you breathed hello. The kind of calls that leave a shadow in the room after they end. You think of the courier who arrived when you were not home. You think of the black envelope that felt heavier than paper should. You remember how the tape resisted as if it wanted to keep you innocent just a little longer. On page 2, the words change shape. They become a map of how you could be moved without moving. A transfer of rights framed as a courtesy, a favor, a small thing, a routine procedure. But routine procedures do not leave bruises on a heart. Routine procedures do not make the person you love shake like a leaf trying to hold onto a tree in a storm. Routine procedures do not rewrite your name in a stranger's handwriting. There is a red stamp that looks official by design. It sits like a false crown on a false head. Authority borrowed, authority manufactured, authority that demands reverence without earning it. Your partner admits there was a meeting. It was supposed to be simple. It was supposed to be quick, a signature on a different line for a different document, and then coffee to celebrate getting it done. Instead, papers shifted like a magician's shells. The right page became the wrong page, became the page that would become a wound. And in the confusion of a rushed room, a pen pressed too hard on the place where your future lives. This isn't just a story of a mistake. It is a design built by someone who knew the shape of your week, the rhythm of your errands, the names of people you trusted. It is a door opened by familiarity and closed by calculation. You breathe, and the night breathes with you. The lamp casts a tired circle around the evidence. The sound of crying has gentled, but its truth remains. Your partner keeps saying they're sorry without looking at you. They keep gripping the paper as if it could fall into a fire only they can see. Their apology is not small, but it is late. On page 3, there is a name that should not be there. It is a quiet name you have heard before at family tables and across office corridors. You once said it with gratitude, and now it tastes like metal. The page pretends you agreed to open a gate. The page pretends you agreed to step aside. The page pretends a stranger's wish was your own. Archangel Michael says you are not powerless in the presence of a scheme that wears a suit. He says the night is only as long as the work you are willing to do within it. He says you will not face this paper alone. You begin with the edges. You study the stamp, the seal, the watermark that feels like a promise wrapped around a lie. You trace the serial number with steady hands and memorize the curve of each digit. You take photographs with time and date imprinted, careful and methodical. You file them in a folder that bears today's name. You breathe again, and your breath returns to you stronger. On your phone, notes begin to gather like witnesses. Who called when, who said what, who stood by the door pretending to guard it while ushering something else in. The notes become a small, stubborn light in a season that tried to be dark. Your partner wipes their face and finally meets your eyes. They do not ask for forgiveness yet, and you do not offer it yet. There is a bridge to rebuild before either of you tries to cross it. Between the lines of page 4 lies a timeline. It begins on a Tuesday afternoon when you thought you were safe, and it moves like water through hours you barely remember. It reaches tonight with a flick of a clock's hand that feels like a verdict. In the margins, you see the initials of a notary that do not match the registry. The stamp shape is right, but the color is wrong. The raised seal should be cool under your fingers, but it is flat and warm. Somewhere, someone practiced your signature until it became almost you. They trained their hand to mimic your smallest hesitation. They learned the angle at which your pen meets the page and exploited kindness into traceable shapes. You will not let this stand. The sentence forms in you like a spine aligning. It is not rage that speaks first but clarity. You make a list. Confirm the notary. Verify the seal. Contact the office that issued the serial numbers and ask the question whose answer exposes daylight. You remember a neighbor who keeps their ear to the ground. They saw a courier come twice last week. They mentioned the way the courier checked house numbers as if searching for a story he already knew the ending of. The document wants you to panic. Panic is its favorite accomplice. Panic signs quickly and misfiles later. Panic confuses moving fast with moving right. So you slow your heartbeat with intention. You pour water for both of you, because thirst grows in rooms where fear speaks loudly. You put the paper in a clear sleeve so it cannot shed anything or steal anything else. Your partner speaks at last in sentences that hold. They tell you about a voice that sounded kind in a room that smelled like coffee and printer ink. They tell you about being rushed and not wanting to look foolish for asking for time. They tell you about a story that used your name to compose urgency. A sick relative, an expiring rate, a deadline that could not be moved. They tell you how kind can be a trap when you are taught never to hinder. You do not shape your anger into a weapon tonight. You shape it into a tool. It will pry open what has been closed and reveal what has been hidden. You remember the security camera near the elevator. You remember the receptionist's desk that logged arrivals and departures. You remember the sign-in sheet that turns memory into ink. Archangel Michael says the truth is a seed that splits stone when nurtured. He says gather the small proofs because they add up to a harvest. He says whoever forged that ink did not foresee the patience you are capable of. You set times for tomorrow that respect the weight of this night. The registry first, early, before the queue wraps the building. Then the notary's office with a question that cannot be softened. If there is a fraud, you think, it is not just a crime, it is a story told with your name as the protagonist and your consent as a prop. The story will be rewritten with accuracy. The script will be changed word by word until it is yours again. Your partner is still crying, but the sound changes. It carries more breath and less despair. It carries a willingness to stand rather than a wish to disappear. You will need boundaries carved from clarity. You will need apologies that become actions. You will need a pace of trust that honors both the wound and the healing. You open your drawer and remove the folder labeled personal. You add a new divider called interventions. Above it you write tonight's date and the time you decided to fight with wisdom instead of fear. On the back page of the document is a QR code that claims convenience. You photograph it and keep it cold. If it takes you to a portal, you will enter through a device that cannot be compromised. You see the name again, the quiet name. You underline it in your mind but not on the page. You will not mark the original. You will not alter what may serve as evidence. You remember the stories elders told about wolves in suits. You remember how betrayal tries to look like favor. You remember how real love warns even when warning costs comfort. You and your partner decide to sleep for 2 hours, then rise before the sun. You set alarms because the morning will be busy with untying knots tied by another person's hands. You promise the bed that you will return to it with a lighter heart. The night cracks once at the window as a breeze shifts. Somewhere a car door closes softly. Somewhere a plan is being taken apart by your new resolve, one screw at a time. When the alarms ring, the world is different by the smallest degree that changes everything. You dress like it is a court you carry within. You move like someone who is not accepting invitations to fear. The registry office smells like paper and patience. You stand in line with others whose stories are folded into folders like yours. When you say your name at the desk, you feel it return to you with dignity. The clerk examines the stamp with a practiced gaze. They tilt the page into the light and nod in a way that says the truth has a texture. They ask you to wait while they check a ledger only certain hands can open. Your partner squeezes your hand in gratitude that needs no words. The tears return, brief and soft, but they do not drown anything this time. They water the ground you are reclaiming. The clerk returns with a look that does not pretend. The ledger does not acknowledge this serial number. The entry does not exist where it should live. A second clerk verifies while the first clerk watches the clock. Procedures matter because they resist the weather of emotion. The second clerk lifts their head and uses the word you expected and didn't: fraud. They take careful notes in a form that gives you both protection and path. They explain the next steps and the names of the offices that will carry the baton. They explain the power in your photographs and in your restraint. By noon, you have left 3 messages that will be returned. You have an appointment you did not know you could get. You have a number that will ring back with the weight of a department behind it. At the notary's office, the receptionist looks surprised to see the document under your sleeve. They check a schedule and cannot find the appointment that supposedly happened. The notary emerges with a face that understands before you finish describing the problem. Protocols unspool like rope offered to someone climbing a difficult wall. The notary recognizes the initials that do not belong to anyone on staff. They recognize the style of a counterfeit that has been seen twice this quarter. A security camera is reviewed while you wait in a chair that knows many stories. You watch blurred figures on a screen become more than shapes. You watch a hand that is not yours drag a pen across a line as if drawing a boundary it had no right to draw. Your partner sees it too and shrinks and straightens all at once. They whisper, and the whisper is a promise to learn the difference between trust and permission. They whisper a vow to never be rushed again by a voice that confuses urgency with care. In the late afternoon, you visit a bank where the air is cool and the pens are on chains. You place the document on the counter like a challenge. The manager reads and calls someone behind a door that opens with a beep. Accounts are flagged not as a sentence but as a shield. Alerts are set that will sing if anyone tries to push your name where it does not belong. The bank prints forms that put guardians at gates you did not know needed guarding. You think of the quiet name again and the rooms where it was spoken. You think of the phone that may soon ring with a voice that tries to sound unbothered. You decide what you will say when it does, and what you will refuse to say. You return home when the sky goes the color of truth, not black, not white, but a determined twilight. You place the document in a new sleeve and label it with the word evidence. You open your notes and add dates, names, outcomes, reflections. That night, your partner does not cry the same way. The tears that come are for lessons learned and the cost of learning them. They are not for surrender. Archangel Michael says courage is not a roar but a rhythm. He says you kept the rhythm today even when the song tried to speed up. He says the person who planned this did not plan for your steadiness. In the days that follow, the phone calls stack like small victories. The registry confirms in writing what the clerk said across the desk. The notary files a report that turns counterfeit into official trouble. You meet with a person whose job it is to put puzzles back together. They process the paper not as a story but as a sequence. They lay out options like tools on a table and teach you the names of each one. You decide which tool you will use and when. You decide what you will say to people who join the story late and want to advise without listening. You decide how you will forgive without forgetting. Your partner practices a new kind of speaking. They say, "I should have told you sooner," and do not make excuses. They say, "I will stand beside you in every room where your name is spoken," and you hear the floor solidify beneath both of you. You are interested in outcomes. The outcomes arrive like a careful rain. A retraction filed. A letter signed that is actually signed. A sequence reversed, not by magic, but by resolve and proof. Your partner still cries sometimes, but not because the document is worse than expected anymore. They cry because they are learning how to be the person they promised to be. They cry because you chose the hard work of repair over the easier habit of rage. The paper that came to erase you is now a lesson you carry without letting it carry you. It sits in a folder behind 3 other folders you never had before. It is a defeated animal, caged by process and time and truth. You eat together at a table that has seen too much and is still sturdy. You talk about the season ahead and the rituals that will keep you honest. You talk about the cost of kindness and the strength of boundaries. At dusk, you light a small candle for the hours you cannot control and the hours you can. You speak softly to the room to remind it you are here. You make the house remember your laughter louder than your fear. The doorbell rings once, and it is only a neighbor with fresh bread. The phone buzzes twice, and it is only a confirmation number that means protection. The world is not safe, but you are safer. You think of other people in other lines at other desks with other documents. You wish them a clerk who notices color, a camera that tells the truth, a partner who learns to speak early and clearly. You wish them a rhythm to keep when panic invites a sprint. Tonight does not thunder like that earlier night. Tonight hums. It hums because a battle was handled with patience, and the patience did its work. You store the folder where it belongs and place a small note on the front. The note says, "I am not helpless." The note says, "I will ask for time whenever I want it." Your partner turns off the light and you do not fear the dark. The dark has met its match in your order. The dark knows your name but cannot claim it. If there is a next document, it will meet a different version of you. It will meet a version who reads twice and signs once, if at all. It will meet a version with witnesses and copies and questions that hold the room still until you are satisfied. You sleep because sleep is a part of strength. You do not call it denial when you rest, you call it readiness. Morning will come, and you will not be outnumbered by it. The quiet name fades back into the crowd where it belongs. The bank alerts ring for nothing now, and that emptiness is a blessing. The registry file sits clean and accurate with your name spelled like a promise. This is how you live after a paper tried to become a weapon. You become a student of your own boundaries. You become a careful keeper of your own consent. This is how the tears change their job. They stop drowning and start watering. They stop begging and start blessing. Archangel Michael says the night that tried to take your voice has become the night that taught you how to use it. He says you stood before a page that lied and made it tell the truth. He says you are not merely surviving, you are curating a safer future. In that future, your name is only on the lines you choose. In that future, urgency earns its place or steps aside. In that future, the documents that cross your table know who they are speaking to. You close the folder and the house exhales with you. The lamp is warm against your palm as you switch it off. The window shows a sky that owes you nothing and still gives you peace. The last thing you hear before sleep is not crying. It is breath. It is the simple, blessed rhythm that says, "You did not lose yourself to ink." Archangel Michael says this is the part of the journey where courage stops whispering and starts pointing. He says the map is in your hands now, and the roads ahead are many but the destination is one. He says the paper that tried to shrink you has already begun to fold into something smaller than your resolve. Morning arrives like a careful drumbeat, steady and unafraid. You move through the house checking locks, drawers, files, and the soft places where fear used to hide. Your partner follows with a notebook, writing down what you say, learning the rhythm of your new requirements. The kitchen table becomes a command center. Folders line up like faithful soldiers, each labeled with dates, names, and the precise moments where the tide turned. A pen waits uncapped because speed now serves accuracy, not panic. Your phone vibrates with the first return call. A quiet official voice confirms the flagged serial number and the missing registry entry. They ask you to bring the original and every photograph, and you hear in their tone a respect that was missing yesterday. On the ride over, the city looks different, as if the buildings are watching you reclaim yourself. Your partner holds the document sleeve with both hands, the way people hold delicate instruments. The car hums and you rehearse your answers not to please them, but to protect you. Inside the office, a specialist examines the paper beneath a lamp that sharpens truth. Their gloved hands move like a language you're learning in real time. Under magnification, the ink blooms into evidence the naked eye could not see. The specialist names 3 irregularities without drama. A pressure pattern inconsistent with your usual signature. A microtext seam misaligned with the genuine seal. They print a report that turns suspicion into a cornerstone. The report is clean, precise, and impossible to negotiate with. Your partner exhales as if they had been underwater for days and finally broke the surface. You visit a small room where statements are recorded. The recorder clicks, and your voice enters the archive. You speak with care, not to convince, but to ensure that the record honors what happened. The questions come in sequence and you answer in sequence. Dates, locations, names, the shape of the room, the smell of coffee, the tempo of the rush. You tell the truth with the steadiness of a metronome. On the way out, you pass a bulletin board of warnings. It's full of faces, methods, and clever tricks invented by desperate people. You touch the doorframe and promise yourself you will never be rushed again without a shadow of proof. Home is quieter than before, but it is not empty. It is deliberately calm, like a stage reset between acts. You sit on the couch and your partner sits beside you, not too close, not too far, the distance chosen with respect. They apologize again, not as a performance but as a foundation. They name the moment they failed to ask a necessary question. They name the feeling of being flattered by authority and never again mistaking it for safety. You set a boundary with 3 sentences. You will share facts immediately, even if they are uncomfortable. You will pause any process that touches your name until both of you review it twice. Together you draft a timeline that breathes. You add texts, calls, emails, and the courier's visit in the order they happened. You mark the gaps where the scheme expected you to be asleep at the wheel. Archangel Michael says the strongest doors are the ones you build after the first break-in. He says the person who planned this expected tears, not teamwork. He says the future respects people who refuse to be rushed. You schedule 2 calls you never would have made last month. One with a counselor to help translate apologies into daily practice. One with a legal advocate who understands how paper can become a weapon and how to turn it back into paper. At the counselor's office, the air smells like lavender and clean paper. You speak about urgency, guilt, and the habit of protecting each other from hard truths. The counselor nods, then names the price of secrecy and the promise of clarity. Your partner talks about fear of looking naive. They talk about being trained to say yes quickly to be helpful. They commit to a new practice, delaying every important decision long enough to invite the truth into the room. You walk out with phrases that fit in your pocket. I need time to review this. Let's bring it home and look at it together. No signature without verification. The legal advocate meets you in a room with tall windows. They are precise, patient, and unimpressed by theatrics. They trace the path from counterfeit to consequence and set milestones you can measure. There will be letters sent and letters received. There will be calls logged and calls returned. There will be a moment when the person behind the quiet name realizes the story is no longer theirs to control. You rehearse the meeting that is coming. You practice saying only what is needed and nothing extra. You practice the silence that comes after a lie is offered and refuses to land. When the day arrives, you enter the room with your folder like a compass. The quiet name is already seated, eyes deciding whether to charm or to bully. You choose neither and let the document speak. The first page that matters is the specialist's report. You pass it across the table and watch pupils tighten. The second page is the registrar's confirmation of fraud, heavy with official ink. The quiet name tries to pivot to feelings, to misunderstandings, to miscommunications. You hold the line with 3 words: refer to evidence. Your partner holds the line with 3 more: we are documenting. A door opens and a senior voice joins the table. Verifications are repeated because truth can stand to be told twice. An agreement forms, not based on mercy, but on the inevitability of facts. The reversal begins like a slow tide